Good morning, or maybe good afternoon, or maybe it's your good evening. Hi, my name is Vivian Acquah, and I'm the Inclusive Workplace Wellness Advocate. And I have to remind myself this is the Amplify DEI live panel talk, and it's about Amplify. It's about intersectionality, right? So, what should we know about intersectionality and how can we challenge all these different labels? So today I have the honor to have the conversation with Anita Abaisa, who is the upgrader of socioeconomic positions. I have Marjolijn Vlug, who is a career and allyship coach. I have Mira Culic Griffiths, who is a leadership coach. I have Yuli Kim, who is an L&D program manager, but also a DEI consultant. I have Peter Griffiths, last but not least, who is a leadership coach and a creativity catalyst. Welcome, everybody. So let's dive into the question. Anita, what's your take on why leaders should care about intersectionality?
They don't. They should not care.
Mm, okay.
No, just why should they care? If you want to care about all of your employees, then this part, the intersectionality part, is
Mm-hmm.
probably a bigger part than most people think, because not all of the forms of diversity are visible.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the impact of the intersectionality, it's multi-layered. So the challenges are multi-layered. If they think they have to work hard on diversity and inclusion, when it comes to intersectionality, they have to work even harder.
Yeah.
And first step is just understanding what it is, intersectionality. I don't want to have like this answer that is so big that I just take away all the answers for the others. So
No, but
maybe I should.
I also realized that I need to do a little bit of introduction because intersectionality is a huge word, right? But to make it simple, there are different roads that lead to Rome, and Rome is that one person. So bringing it back to myself, I'm a Black woman, but I'm also a mom. I'm also a geek. I'm also so many other layers or color Skittles, right? We all love Skittles, or some of us love Skittles. All these different colors are my identities, and sometimes we think we can put people into one box. Because of my financial background, people think that I still like finance. I don't, still don't, even though I have to do my taxes and stuff. I still don't like it. But we need to unravel the different intersectionality so that we understand what makes people tick. Where are their purposes? What makes them, what makes them come to work? Where do they have fun? But they are not just one identity. Some of you might know me as the Inclusive Workplace Wellness Advocate, but sometimes I also introduce myself as Orlando's mother, or sometimes I introduce myself as the IT geek. I'm all of that. So, yeah, thank you. Peter.
Just to carry on what Anita said, really, that
Mm-hmm.
you can't really call yourself a leader unless you're willing to work on your blind spots and your unconscious biases, because they all, as we've discussed so far, they're all interconnected. And in our podcast on the labels, we explore a lot of these labels that are interconnected, and quite often they're not really in plain view. And I
Mm,
can put my hand up as me as a leader in my career. There was many times I put my foot in it, but I just got comfortable being vulnerable and checking in with the people I was meant to be of service to and just saying, look, I don't know. And honestly, I hazard a guess, did I put my foot in it? And quite often when people feel safe to like, yeah, you annoyed me in that meeting and actually you made me feel marginalized and uncomfortable.
yeah.
And yeah, when you hear that, it is a little bit uncomfortable to go through that, you know, especially in my early career. But I'm glad I did because I learned so much from it. And actually, I could show up and just be my authentic self, knowing that warts and all, I will make mistakes. I think quite often leaders just don't want to show up and get involved in conversation, and they
Mm.
miss out on that curiosity of actually learning something new from their people.
But then again, you are mentioning something saying that somebody gave you the feedback. We had a conversation yesterday where some people might not give feedback because they are scared, because there is no safety, or some people, let's say that in certain countries, the Netherlands, for instance, we butcher people when giving feedback. Sometimes, not all the time, but there are people that butcher people like it's Halloween festival and they don't leave that person whole. Not all leaders have, not all leaders provide that space that you mentioned where you are accepting of that feedback. What would you tell them?
Well, if you don't hear feedback from your people, or you're not hearing any noise, or you're not learning something new, then I'd hazard a guess, as you pointed to, that people are just not comfortable and safe around you.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I would say to do is develop your listening skills.
Mm.
And that doesn't require anything massive. It's just checking in and saying, how are you? And especially in the world of remote and hybrid working, the more you check in and just say, look, forget work for a bit, forget the stats, forget the KPIs. How are you doing? And then just shut up. And then it's so transformational how you can just learn so much about someone. And again, you then learn how they work, what they like, what they don't like. And crucially, it's the stuff that's not related to work that will actually help you make people feel safe and probably less marginalized, right?
Thank you. Julie.
Yeah, understanding intersectionality or focus on intersectionality is about, in my opinion, it's about unlocking the potential.
Mm.
Because intersectionality is about really understanding the different characteristics of your people that you work with. Anita said that, mentioned about the visible versus invisible differences, because it's easy to, well, if you can see, well, we see the colors, we see the race, we see the gender, perhaps age as well, and things like that. And we're kind of stuck on the differences rather than so many other commonalities. So, Anita and I start a conversation, and what did you study? Where you're from? What do you like to do? And what are your career experiences and things like that? Where have you been working? And we might think, we might find easily, well, I wouldn't say easily, but we find more perhaps commonalities that we suddenly become sort of feel closer to each other. And what happens? We work better. It's more efficient. It's more engaging. It's more fun. What's the output? It'll be much better than we hung up on the differences. The differences that we see, we hung up on, 2 or 3 differences rather than many other commonalities. So to me, it's an opportunity to unlock the potential.
You are tapping into the power of Amplify DEI. I mean, this summit is based upon the commonalities. Instead of, looking at the person being different, what is your superpower and how does your superpower connect with my superpower, right? What are all the superpowers? So thank you for highlighting that, Julie. Mira.
Let me just unmute quickly. We've got somebody fixing something in the building, so it can be quite noisy.
It's part of working at home, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the things that we can connect on. No? But it's interesting when I was thinking about this and listening to all of you talking, what also comes to mind is, I mean, I come from medical background and neurology and that kind of research. And it's interesting to me that our brain likes labels because it's easy. It's easier. I learn how to open the doors, so therefore I know how to open every door. Don't need to learn and again how to do that. And it's useful in these situations, but when it comes to humans, it's not useful. We put labels based on what we see, and then that wouldn't be so much of a problem if I'm allowed to see what I see. I don't need to not see things that I see, but the meanings that we add to that. And then this is where I see the problem, is that if I see somebody but even the name, I mean, if we really go down with name, you meet somebody with a name that reminds you of somebody that was a bully at home when you were a kid. So it's really interesting of how all these emotions, and if you're not aware of enough of it, can bring in different behavior from our side. So we see the label, we attach the meaning that we have to it, and then we behave as if that's true. So, you see somebody, again, my background.
And the brain is tricking us on that part,
Absolutely,
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is why we really need to talk about it, because people think that it's difficult to fix, that it's difficult to work on it. That no, it just really needs a little bit of intention from our side to just become a little bit aware, and then things start making sense of why we're talking about it, why is this so important, so we can connect with people, really connect.
Yeah. I would love to add a different ingredient next to intention, add accountability. Let's hold each other accountable. So also self-accountability, but also the fact that you're asking somebody else to be that person that tells you this is wrong, and do it a constructive way, of course. So yeah, thank you. Marjolijn.
Yeah, I'm loving what I'm hearing so far. It's I completely agree with what Anita said just now. Intersectionality has so much more impact than you realize. And loving what Peter and Yuli said, and Mira saying that the labels that we're all automatically assuming about other people, there's a label. I love the word label now. There's a label that I'd love for everyone really to add, is that every person that you see, that you meet, that you interact with is a patchwork of pieces of their identity.
Yeah.
You can connect with some pieces, and maybe other pieces are so different that you find it very alienating to even try. You can try, but it's not the easiest way to connect. But everyone is a patchwork, is a kaleidoscope of elements. And in intersectionality, that can mean different, all those pieces of the patchwork can have different levels of privilege that they bring you. But really the only label that perhaps that you need to add is the concept that everyone is a patchwork like that. We had our Queen Maxima, she did a speech, maybe it was 10 years ago, where she said the Dutch person doesn't exist because we're all so different.
Yeah.
And that got taken in a hugely, out of proportion, in a hugely crazy way. She got a lot of flack for it, but it's so true. And, you can put the label on, here's a Dutch person, there's a German person, there's, whatever nationality or any part of your identity that you are. But even within that, it's part of a whole kaleidoscope of different sides of you that all make up who you are. And you can have a lot more in common with someone who's been living in deep in the Amazon in a teeny tiny little village that you can never imagine. So let's get curious. And even if you don't have the brain space to get curious, just know that other people are a patchwork just like you are.
True. I do have to think about what you said as last, even when you don't have the brain space, but when we tie it into companies that don't activate diversity, equity, and inclusion, but yet their competitors are, you'll see a difference.
You're going to lose out on a lot of forwarding energy that you unleash when you let people be that whole patchwork of who they are. Be their whole U shape. And we've been talking about leaders, but there's a responsibility that comes with leadership that I believe includes this, and that I believe even comes with personal leadership.
Yeah.
And
I believe in self-leadership.
Talk about. Yeah. It's not just that's up to my manager. I mean, you are the leader of your own life.
True.
Take some responsibility there too. It's not always easy. You're still figuring it out. That's okay. But let's keep talking about it so you can keep learning and growing there.
I do have some comments here. So Monica Lavender is saying, hello, everyone. Looking forward to this discussion. And Zakia Mayberry, who's also a speaker, says better morale and absolutely true inclusive leaders work on blind spots. So thank you, Peter, for sharing that. And starting with you, Julie. Can you share one reason why leaders should not ignore intersectionality in the workplace?
I mean, if they can ignore if they don't want to improve or grow or innovate, but
Mm-hmm.
if you want to compete in this
Mm.
super competitive market, you
Yeah.
have to keep evolving,
Yeah.
which means you don't need to suddenly apply different methodologies or different strategies and things like that, but just look what you have already, the people you work with inside the organization. And for example, often the companies have employee resource groups, ERGs, or business
Mm-hmm.
resource groups, right?
Yeah.
And then they're grouped. And as you, Vivian, you said, like we work as silo,
Mm-hmm.
culture, race, LGBTQ plus,
Yeah.
gender. So we have different agenda, some different priorities, right? So different ERGs with different claims. We have this problem. We have this one. They have this problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so do leaders respond to each ERG with different offerings? Is that efficient enough, or is it even possible? How do you prioritize? How about looking into the issues, the problems that they're challenged, that they face in the workplace? What
Yeah.
are they fighting for? Equity, discrimination-free workspace. At the end of the day, we want equity, right?
Yeah.
So we're fighting against different challenges, but at the end of the day, we're fighting for the same goal. So by applying intersectional lens, the leaders can see the challenges that these different groups have, but by applying the intersectional lens, they see the commonality as well. Oh, this is a problem that we have, and if we work on this issue, maybe these groups, different groups of people that we sort of belong to, but we experience better experiences in the workplace.
Yeah.
So that's more efficient. That's a better idea than handling and dealing with different groups and with different offerings.
It's not only efficient of time, but also of energy and also of money, right? When
The
you find,
resources, energy,
yeah,
efficiency,
yeah,
and everything.
yeah.
I think that's a reason why I think that leaders should pay attention to intersectionality.
Thank you, Peter.
What's a great conversation, by the way. Love what everyone's saying. What
Mm-hmm.
springs to mind to me is how can you really trust the leader or leadership team that marginalizes their people, whether it's conscious or not? You just can't. It's repellent. And what I see is one of the biggest shortfalls in most of the companies that we can see right now is that they're just not willing to look at the truth of it. You know, as I said before, they're literally not listening to the pulse of their organization. And
Yeah.
it's interesting that quite a lot of these organizations have got a lot of metrics. They're spending millions of pounds on engagement programs and dare I say even D&I. But what I'm constantly seeing is when I actually get curious and check in with individual employees and departments, they're telling me the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So something's amiss. And if you're hearing that, you know, you haven't got a choice. You must deal with it, because if you don't, I'm pretty sure you won't be in that position, or your company is going to leave a legacy of a toxic environment. And you might not even have a company in operation. I just don't think it's a nice to have, right? It's something that we all have to work on, me included. So, yeah.
True. Thank you for sharing. And Anita?
Well, why should leaders care? Leaders should care because I think, especially if I look at the Netherlands now, I think the Central Economic Council just brought this report saying that at this moment, companies in the Netherlands are focused on bringing new employees in, but they can't keep them. I think this is a very good sign of we're neglecting our performance management.
Yeah.
And one thing about performance management is you have to be aware what are the challenges of your employees. If you can understand and meet them in these challenges, you're able to keep your employees. And that's why you should care, because if you're able to solve these challenges with them, you're able to keep them. And they will feel they're belonging to the company they're working for, because the company cares, so you will care. And that's why leaders should care. And the longer we're talking about this topic, I'm actually, I know, like, how come how come there are people in this position who don't understand other people, but still it happens every day.
They need your glasses. They need your VR glasses.
I don't know even if that's gonna help.
No, but to add on to what you shared, right? When it comes to finding out why people are leaving, a lot of companies are leaving that aspect on the table. They are not even looking at it. And I'm just like, that's so valuable. When somebody leaves, there is a way for them to be totally honest, well, sometimes
Yeah.
constructive honest, but still they can share why they left. And if that means that they are leaving because of a toxic manager, or they are leaving because they are being tokenized, they are leaving because they are not being valued, not being heard, not being seen, also me. There are so many cases where people are leaving because they are one of the few. And given the fact where we are heading in the world, the majority now is not a majority within 5 to 10 or 15 years from now. And that's something that you should be scared of, especially when you want to support clients, you want to support the external stakeholders, but also know that investors also want you to show the DEI money. And if you don't have that, for example, like Coca-Cola did with the external lawyers, right? They demanded from the external lawyers that show us that you are improving on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And if you can't show us, well, we'll deduct your fee with 30%. That's a good incentive.
And that is money talking, but
Yeah.
um, while it's well, it is directly related. When we're talking about employees leaving companies, it's also money. A lot of money
Yeah.
we're talking
Yeah.
about. So the offboarding part, which you're talking
Yeah.
about, is
Crucial.
just as important as the
Yeah.
onboarding part. But we're so focused on recruitment and onboarding, and we don't
Yeah.
have eye for the offboarding part. And especially now, it's so important because, like you said, there's so much information there
Yeah.
which can help you to improve and to keep the employees you're hiring. But now we spend a lot of money hiring these employees, and within 2 years they leave the company, and we start all over
Not
again.
even within 2 years, because
1 year.
recently
I
there
was being
isn't.
positive.
No, no. You have to look at Indeed. Recently came out with a report saying that people don't even stay for 1 year right now. This is the moment right now. And I'm seeing Sergio reacting, and Sergio, it has a mentorship talk amongst the people as well. Because one of the aspects that I share with the companies that I work with is, where's the love? Because you have court them in, you have a relationship with your employees, but after 90 days, it seems like the honeymoon phase is over. It seems like everything is over, and then they see your real identity, then they see the real culture, then they see the true you. And I would say, just like you do a checkup with your car, right? Every year you bring your car to a garage, or every 2 years you bring your car to a garage, and they do a checkup. Why don't you apply that same checkup to your employee, where you say, where's the love? Where do you want to stay? Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself? And better yet, ask yourself also the question, how can I support you in your journey?
Yeah, but
Period.
they ask this question. No, it's not even the question. They should ask this question when you come in, because then they know what you find important, and then they
Yeah.
know how to keep you. But there's companies are so busy with, I have to get you in because then I can do my check, and I am a diverse company, and then we're finished. But it's,
Mm.
I don't know. I just no.
It's
No.
not a one night stand, but I'll hand it over to Marjolijn.
Oh, you're doing so much good stuff, and
Yeah.
yeah, um what I've been noticing is that there have been initiatives
Mm-hmm.
where leaders and organizations say, "Yeah, but we fixed it."
Mm.
There was a picture doing the round quite recently of someone who said, "Look, look at how diverse our team is! Yay!" And it was like 4 women, 5 men. One of them was wearing flowery pants, and they were all white.
Hmm.
Like, you're not done yet. Or I've spoken with someone who said, yeah, but aren't we all just super diverse already? Because gay men are so welcome to be open and out in the workplace. Aren't we done?
You're
And to
never
me, that's the
done.
value of being aware
Yeah.
of intersectionality. There's so many different levels of people's identity that come into play. That if you think you fixed it because you've talked to one ERG and you fixed their problem, or you think you did. I mean, there's so much more to be done, and there's so much more to be taken into account. And all those people that are walking out because that part of their identity is not getting acknowledged, and they're
Yeah.
not feeling welcome and feeling any belonging for that part of who they are. Sure, you're a man and you feel welcome for being a man, but not for wearing pink lipstick on a Friday. Then you're still going to leave, even though it's a welcoming environment for men.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing about intersectionality, is that there's so much more to people than just that one fix that you've already done.
And also to add on to what you're saying, you're never done with this work. When you're working with clients, when you're working with employees, when you're working to, creating a better culture, you're never done. You'll always run a marathon, and that's where a lot of the thinking goes wrong. To think that they can just do check, and that's it. It's never done.
What I would love to go right is that's the whole point of it. Maybe that's the whole fun of it. Even we're on a learning curve. We're growing, just like your business is growing in where you want it to take. Maybe you're changing directions. Maybe you're taking it to another level. This is the same thing. It's an ongoing development. So that's fine as long as you keep moving, right? That's what every aspect of having a business is about. You're fine as long as you keep going, keep moving, keep trying to try another idea, go in another direction, keep growing. This is just part of that. So let's make that part of the whole journey and part of the whole reason why we're enjoying doing that in the first place.
Thank you. Mira.
Oh, this is amazing. I mean, it's, what am I going to say now?
Shall I bring in a different question? That will help, because I do have a few questions. Michael, no, Zakia the Zakia is sharing. Is it clear for everyone to know the difference about equal and equity? Maybe you can answer that.
Maybe.
Or Julie,
Yeah, I'm happy to. I think that for example, equal treatment will be all of us, 6 on the panel. We receive, let's say, a little tiny step stool here. If you can see beyond the fence, here's your step stool, 1 meter each. Vivian, how tall are you?
I'm tall. We have been standing next to each other, so I am 1 meter 86.
1 meter 86. Me, Asian average, 1 meter 59 centimeters. Look, if you give Vivian 1 meter and 1 meter to me, we're still like this. So, and Vivian's fine; she can see well beyond the fence, but I still cannot see. Yeah. So equal opportunity, equal treatment will be give everybody equal supplement, and whereas equity is about, okay, if we give Vivian this much, she can see, but Yuli needs this much, so give Yuli this much, but Vivian this much. Well, this tall step stool. So that's a difference.
People are dealing with different barriers, and the equity part is about catering to those different barriers so that you remove those barriers so that everybody feels like they're getting equal parts. But some people need more leverage. Some people need more extra, more tools regarding
so some groups appreciate a little bit more than other groups, but in the end they are reaching to the same goal.
Yeah.
It's interesting though that when we don't see people for who they are, when we see one aspect of them, one label, we are unable to communicate and give them what they actually need. So I kind of going back to the previous question is that what you do when you don't see the intersectionality, when you don't recognize the person for what they really are, not what you think they are or what you think they should be, because they're of certain label that is familiar to you, is that we are not listening, we are not hearing what they need. And so, you know, it often gets to that, we give them what we think they need, and we give everybody the same, and then we are happy with our achievements.
Yeah.
But what are the results? And it's interesting to me that I hear leaders talking a lot about, you know, I want to be heard, I want to have an impact, I want to increase engagement, productivity of a team, or, you know, they have all these questions and they think there is so many different tools to do that. But it can all be done by doing this. It's by actually understanding how it works and getting to know people for who they are and what they need, listening to them. And you can't listen and you won't be heard if you're not on that level. Yeah.
True. I do have a few comments coming in. So Gerald is sharing, to ignore intersectionality is to ignore the individual. It would be very hypocritical if a company says, bring your true, authentic self to work before understanding the true meaning of intersectionality outside of Google search. You cannot teach empathy. Gerald, you know, I love you. This is truly amazing. And Michael is sharing, what is inclusion without intersectionality? Good point, Michael. Good point. Thank you. Sergio is sharing, such an interesting point, Anita. There is a lot of focus on recruitment of ethnic talent, but only to have talent leaving in a few years. Not even a few years, Sergio. Within 1 year, 1.5 years. So no, we can't have that. There's another question coming in, and I would rather do that, and that's on the other side. Yes, I have too many screens open right now, but another question that somebody's asking is, what report is about retention? What questions to ask employees to better, to better understand the challenges? Maybe if all of you share a question, that will help the audience as well. So Anita, I will start with you.
Can you repeat the question again for me?
So, what report is that about retention? What question can we ask employees to better understand the challenges?
Who are you?
Chris. I see Chris.
What?
Oh, who are you? That's
Who are you? Ask it in an uncreepy way, right?
Okay.
Who are you?
I get you.
Let's put away the CV, huh? Let's put away the CV and the beautiful talk of your introduction conversation, and I just want to know who you really are. And the thing is, because this is there's so many things going on in my mind, but this is a process. When somebody comes in, it's like you're saying the honeymoon of 90 days. Maybe just this is an idea that comes in. 90 days. Take 90 days to get to know your new employee and to get to know what makes his heart tick. So the first question is, who are you? But you're gonna use this question 90 days. Every day, who are you? And every day the employee gets a chance to show a bit of himself. Because like Marjolijn just beautiful said, it's people are like a kaleidoscope of boxes. And when you press a button, you will get a certain kind of behavior within a certain kind of context. But that doesn't define the employee, because that's just one of the so many boxes.
True.
And so the question, who are you? It seems like a very small question, but it's such a big question, and you have to take time for the question, but you also have to be prepared for the answer you're going to get.
When you were saying that question, in my mind, I was thinking about the theme song of CSI, and how cool would it be if the company would apply, not killing people, but doing the research like CSI is doing to find out who murdered who or who did what, but applying that to the employee, right? Find out little pieces of the puzzle about the employee. Just sharing a tip. Peter.
Yes.
Psychological safety springs to mind because let's be honest, we all complicate things as humans. We, you know, we love labels, we love pigeonholing people, which causes all of these problems that we're
So what would
exploring.
you ask?
How safe do you feel right now?
Mm.
Because if I think back in the leadership roles, when I asked this and people said I don't, I knew that I had shortcomings and I would address it. And I would love to see more leadership students just asking people outright, you know, not just through initiatives, but just going out there and having proper, just connected human conversations. You'll learn so much. Because if you want to retain people, first and foremost, we talk about health and safety a lot, especially in Germany. They're very clear about fire regulations, you know, people getting injured, but no one ever looks at the psychology of it, or at least not until the last 18, 21 months, right? So, yeah.
I'm curious to think, because what if I don't feel safe to share that with you? Is it also possible for a company to use anonymous, you know, surveys, which I stand behind, because sometimes people don't express, if they know that their name is attached to something, they wouldn't express their true answer.
You've got to do it all in parallel, employee support lines, anonymous surveys, but crucially, everyone, we talked about it early, self-leadership. My dream is that, you know, we train leaders right out the gate. We talk about recruitment, right? If you want to retain people, tell them that they've got autonomy and they're already a self-leader, regardless of whether they're a people manager. And that's when you'll see probably true transformation and a lot less problems with intersectionality, I would guess.
Thank you. Marjolijn.
And what I'm noticing is that, and because I'm always also keeping an eye on Yuli, we knew each other in a previous life from
previous life.
Almost. Where you know, there's a distinction between doing quantitative and qualitative research. So you have questions that you send out in a survey that you ask lots of people, and then you just get data, you get numbers, and you get averages, you get standard deviations, and all that. And then there's the type of questions that Anita and Peter were bringing in that can be qualitative questions that you ask in a conversation. And I think there's a big distinction between those two types of ways of getting information, right? Do you want to get an average of what a whole group thinks? Or do you want to talk about the details, or do you want to find the outliers? And I think all of these things give you valuable information. And one way that I've seen other people work in that I think is very valuable is talk me through your week. Talk me through the ups and downs in your week. Because then you get, you know, if you, and maybe that you need an external person to do that because they have fresh eyes and because they're not, you know, involved in that psychological safety factor. But what you can get at is, what are the things that make people go, ooh, and what are the things that make people go, ah. And they can be very specific to that person's lived experience. It can be everyone's leaving to beer afternoon on Fridays. Everyone's going out for beers, and I don't drink because of my religion, because I'm pregnant, because I have 2 small kids at home, and I need to run out to you know, send the babysitter off. And that can give someone, oh, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
That's not going to come out in a survey that you send out to 500 people, where this is just, you know, 1 of 5 people report this. That's going to come out in a conversation where you just talk about what does your week look like. You can't even ask them, what do you need? They're not going to say, I need Tuesday morning cappuccinos instead of the Friday afternoon beers, because that's not, you know, they're not the creative input that you're going to get. You're going to get the real life lived experiences and the impact that maybe tiny things have. The great thing about tiny things is they can be super easy to change for a huge impact on a person's lived experience, on the energy that they bring and the forward force they bring into their work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mira.
Remember to unmute. What question springs to mind listening to you is what would you like? I find that when I ask people what would they like, it's a very different answer, because, and then listen to whether, sometimes I would like, but like people go back to themselves and go into all, oh, this is not possible, that won't be done, and all of that. But just bring them back to what would you like, because I find that creativity, our creative side, lights up then. And to the previous answer, it was it lights people up. They show up differently, and this is where you get them to engage, and this is where you get to see them and understand them, and then what would you like in different situations, in different moments. What Anita said in the beginning, it's not just a question that you ask once on a beginning, on a first interview, what would you like, and then you stay stuck with that for the next year or 2 or 3, as long as they're in your team. Because people change, we change. I mean, we were just talking about it before we started this session live, is that things that we did a year ago and how we called ourselves is different than what it is now. So what we like and direction in which we are going is changing. So why would it be different for other people?
True. But what if you struggle? I'm asking this personally, just putting myself out there vulnerable, because when people ask me directly, how can I help you? What do you like? I shut down. I shut down because that's when my culture starts talking. That's where my upbringing starts talking, because I have not been taught. And it sometimes still feels challenging to answer that question. What would you do?
Well, I sit with them. It's I can relate to that as well personally. But when it's not loaded, when it's about when we start with small things, is
So a
what would you like?
car?
Yeah. So it's sorry.
A car?
Yeah, yeah, that small thing. It's not like a life changing. If you put a question that requires something really big to change, then we are more reluctant to go. We're like, well, what if it doesn't happen, and what if
Yeah.
I'm disappointed after it, and all of that, and what is it possible? Is it not possible? So go with small questions, small. Where would you like to sit? If you go back to, or would you like to go to the office, or would you like to stay at home? Well,
Exactly.
small things that are not emotionally loaded will slowly get people comfortable with that.
Thank you. Julie,
I have
what would you like?
oh god, it's a big question. Well, then I think others share the good question, like examples. So I want to share something else. I think you need to deliver what you promise. In email, like the interview email, bring your authentic self or whatever. Or we're an equal employer. We have zero tolerance against this and this and this and that and that. Then deliver it. Because I'm in the Netherlands, and I feel pretty comfortable saying, like, oh, my wife is American, I'm lesbian, or we have children, all that stuff. But I'm still sometimes careful, depending on which company or which person I'm talking to, where they're from, and their religion and everything. I'm careful. Should I be careful for who I am? So
No, but yeah,
no,
I
but
think due your past experiences, right? Yeah.
exactly. So I'm from Japan, and my life was a little bit different then. I was very careful of what I said and how what I shared about my life, and here different. So if you promise something in an interview, you need to deliver. Otherwise, people quickly notice, oh, this is not safe space for me. Oh, this is not a fun place for me to work with. And young generation, they just, you know what, it's not going to work. They're not going to change for the company to change. They're not going to wait for the people to change, because they know people don't change. And
can I add something to that? Because I love what you say, and I believe that it ties very well into, if you ask a question, make sure that you do something with the answer.
Yeah.
If you don't deliver in any way, you don't have to fix it. You don't have to do something with it directly. But if you let them, the person that you ask the questions, you've let them know that you've heard it, you've taken it in, and you're processing it. Anything at all, that makes a big difference. So don't ask the question.
Be transparent, because
you're not
even
planning to do anything with the answer, because then people say, okay, well, then this is not the place for me. Bye bye. You're not delivering.
I agree. It's not the question that will retain them. That it relies on the answer and then the concrete examples. Oh, we're putting these initiatives to tackle these challenges in our company, and that tells
right?
that's delivering.
Yeah.
And also to bring it back to something that recently happened at home. My son is 8 at the moment right now, and he sometimes tricks us into making promises. And we need to be able to share when we can fulfill that promise, or give him an estimation, because if we don't, he will be standing next to me every 5 minutes saying that you promised, you promised, you promised. Imagine how an employee, annoying, imagine how an employee would feel. So what we do right now is, yes, we make that promise and tell him, at least by Saturday, you should expect this, or at least by 6 p.m., you should know that we are going to help you. We are going to do that. Because if you don't share that context, you leave it out for the person to fill in that context, right? And they will add in whatever context suits them. And then they come back to you saying that, but we had that conversation. You didn't honor me. And that's where the disengagement comes in. That's where, the loss of a talent comes in. So whatever you do, whatever conversation you are having, be transparent, and also be transparent in when you are going to do the follow-up as well. We have a few minutes, and I'm trying to think what I need to do. I at least need to highlight Helen. Helen is sharing, create space for comfortable conversations, great insights. So thank you all. Let's go to the one word. When you look at 2025 and you look at companies amplifying intersectionality in the workplace, okay, let's do 2 or 3 words. What are the 3 words that people need to activate? And I'll start with Mira.
Activate. Can I take a little spin on it?
Yeah, Marjolijn?
Unlearn what you have learned.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Good one.
Do I get to explain it, or I just leave it as it is?
You get 1 minute to explain it.
Okay, cool.
I'll time you.
Okay. What I've noticed, and what we are noticing all right now, is that there is so much labels that is brought into corporate and management training and leadership training and all of that, because this is how you manage people. These people are like this. This is how you speak to them. These people are, and it's still going on. This is this training that has been there for, say, last 40 to 50 years, and it's not working.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we need to unlearn that stuff and get out of these Myers-Briggs or whatever labels we are putting in there, and actually learn to listen, get into, learn, first of all, learn who we are, so that we can then accept and be able to speak to people with who they are.
Time's up. Marjolijn.
Intersectionality is a household term. Completely normal. We all know what it means. We all know how to deal with it, how to incorporate it.
Thank you. Anita, 1 minute, 3 words. I need to cap that. I know her. That's why I'm doing this.
Listen, increase your empathy, and observe. Observe, because people don't always communicate with words. People often communicate with their body, with their face, with their eyes, with the non-verbal part, and that also tells a story, that often tells the truth. And also listen and see that.
Thank you. Peter, for you, the same message that I share with Anita?
I guess compassion and action rather than words.
Yeah.
And reflection, because sometimes we often knee jerk and think we have to go and fix stuff when it's actually better just say, I don't know, but at least I'm showing up. Let's work on it.
Yeah. And let's fix it together, right? Instead of trying to fix it alone, let's fix it together. Because inclusion, equity, this whole D&I space, it's not about leaders alone, or it's not about HR or team ethics. It's a whole company thing. Everybody has a role to play, a piece of the puzzle to create that best inclusion puzzle. So let's activate that. And Julie?
Accountability, delivery, and continuity. Be responsible what you say in the statement and deliver it, and keep doing it, keep improving it, keep exercise your active listening. So all the other ingredients that all the other panels just said. So you have to listen, you have to be accountable, you need to deliver what you promise, and keep doing it. Keep building the trust of building blocks of trust.
Thank you all. This was an amazing conversation, highlighting one comment. So Anika is sharing clarity shows commitment. I want to say for everybody who's here on the panel, know that all the people here, the speakers here, are also individual speakers amongst the Amplify DEI panel. And the only thing that I can say, if you don't have your all access pass ready yet, you're missing out. Huge. Because why? I have about 90 plus speakers on the summit from all over the world, and they are speaking up. I have about 140 plus talks, all because we want to support you in your D&I journey, whether you're starting, whether you're 25%, or whether you're halfway through, or think that you are at the end. You do your cycle and start all over again with this summit. So thank you all for sharing your amazing insights, and see you until the next time. Bye, everybody.